We are live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me know if you can hear me. My name is Lillian Hernandez, but you can call me Lily, like the flower. And we are live here on YouTube as well as the TikTok. So let's get started. We are talking all about 2026 planning. Forgive me if there's any extra background noise. I'm just getting all of my devices in order. So let me know where you're checking in from in the chat. Hi, Kimberly. How are you doing? Thank you for being here and on time. Shout out to everyone on both platforms right now. Oh, we have a lot of people here on YouTube. There we go. TikTok is in a much better situation, but we are going to get started here. And so far, how is everyone's 2025? How has it been? I know we're coming to a close very soon, which is unbelievable because the older I get, the faster these years go by. And it just reminds me how time is just it's fleeting. So we might as well do our best to plan accordingly. And we can't plan it to perfection, we can't plan it to be in control, but we can have a sense and an idea of what our next steps are going to be in order to achieve as much success as possible. And when I say success, I mean, what is your definition of success? Because you and I can have two different definitions of success, but be on the same paths. We could be on the same football team, basketball team, and have completely different reasons why we're doing anything. So that's where we're actually going to start off with. And if you want to leave a comment, you can leave a comment or ask any questions. I'm answering them in the chat as well. We are live and talking 2026 planning. So, what inspired this? So, I used to go live a lot, and I realized it is very helpful, and it helps me as well sort out some of the things that are stuck in my head, and oftentimes, and when I can do it in front of an audience or at least provide the tips that have helped me, I sleep better at night. And a part of my job that I love doing is being able to speak to each and every one of you, whether it's through a coaching session, in the comment sections, or in the DMs. I'm doing my best to reach as many of you as I can. I'm running a solo show, so bear with me. But again, if you have comments, go ahead, just leave them in the chat and I'll get to them. But 2026 planning. So thinking about this past year and how it went for you, would you say it was a thumbs up, thumbs down, things are in motion, I'm not tripping, it's going to happen? Well, for me, at the beginning of 2025, I was coming out of a really rough end of 2023 and all of 2024. So I knew that coming into this new year, I refused to do things the same. I had to have a change. I had to get in touch with what I needed to be doing and what I really needed to be focusing on because I felt like my attention was just all over the place. And if you can relate to that, let me know. Drop a one or a me in the chat because financially, 2024 was probably the worst year for my business. And I realized, okay, a lot of my mood and my energy is often tied to how I'm doing financially. And I don't like that. But I know that's the reality of things is we need money, we have to pay bills, we have to save, we have to support other people or ourselves, our future. And I realized I wasn't putting in the effort to show up for myself. I was burnt out of doing what I was previously doing, and I had to create a game plan for myself for this upcoming year, which was 2025 at that time. So I said, rather than focusing on a bunch of things, let me just focus on what are my top 3 things. And that's what it came down to. But before I could get there, I had to determine what is it that I want to achieve this year? So what are my goals? And and this was an exercise I did with myself over a course of probably a month. It may be quicker for you, it may be longer. But for me, I really wanted to sit down and go deep with what it is I desired, what it is I no longer wanted to do, or who I no longer wanted to be around, where I no longer aligned with people or places and really get serious about how I was going to spend my time this year. And like I mentioned earlier, things are not going to be in our control and things are not going to be perfect. So as long as I accept that that's a part of fate, I can move forward knowing that at least I can know the next few steps. I don't need to know all of them. I just need to know the next few steps so I don't get easily distracted and I can stay on course of where I want to go and why. So, having goals and having dreams are fun. And shout out to Steffi on TikTok. She said one of her goals is, if you don't mind me sharing, is having more flexibility for my family. Yes, that is definitely a part of my goals as well, that of maintaining. I've been self-employed for 7 years. In January, it will be eight. So it's almost like this cycle of completion. They say eight is like a completion number. And I really do feel that way because I feel a shift in the direction I'm even going with my business, which was a big goal of mine this year, was to launch my coaching business, something I had been trying to do for 2 years, but I was just expecting everyone to come to me without having to do the work, without me having to go to you all, like doing live streams, like posting on social media. I barely did any of this last year. And I realized when you don't put in the work, you don't get any work. And absolutely every small step needs to be celebrated. So listing out what my goals are, what are my dreams, and being lofty with those dreams, being quote unquote unrealistic was something I've always done. Being outlandish, having the gall to dream is a big deal. And I want that for each and every one of us because I have achieved many things that I didn't think would ever happen in this lifetime. So I have full, complete faith that anything I put my mind to and I put my action into, it's going to happen. Maybe not on my timeline, maybe not tonight or this year, but or in the way I envisioned it, but it's one of those, if I feel it in my heart and in my soul, it's going to happen. Much like this live stream. I wasn't planning on doing this on Monday, and here we are on Thursday going live and I get to talk to my community. So, listing out your goals is key. Knowing why, what are you doing? What do you want to do? And I understand many of us are going through seasons of change right now with the new year coming up, or maybe you're just burnt out from your career, your life. I'm going to focus more on business and career goals in this session because if I talk about everything, we'll be doing like a mafia-thon like Kai Cenat did and be on live for an entire month. So we're going to condense it to just business and career. And this is not going to be the last time I go live. So if you're in here, shout out to you. If you want to subscribe and follow so you can continue to attend live sessions just like this and surrounded talking about other topics, I'm glad to have you. But having goals and dreams and knowing what those are. So if you're a visual person, you can create a vision board or write it down, put it on your wall. My cork board right now is blank because I've been moving things around in my office because I want to set myself up for the future to have a clear space so I know exactly what I need to focus on. And I have a couple of my like logos as subtle reminders for now as to what I'm working towards. And then in front of me, behind the cameras, behind the scenes, what you guys don't see are bigger posters and reminders, my calendar, pictures of my nieces and nephews that remind me of like, this is why I do these things. This is what I'm working towards. Because when you have big goals, small goals, medium goals, whatever the case may be, it's easy to forget and stray away from those things when things get difficult, when you're not getting paid fast enough, when you're falling behind on bills or the pressures, adding up because another month went by and your dreams didn't come true. Believe me, chasing solopreneur dreams, business dreams, you have to do it for the long game, but you also have to do it for you, which brings me to my next point is having a strong why. If you read self-help books or follow a bunch of self-help gurus or coaches, therapists, they always talk about, having a strong why. Like, why do you want to do anything? And I just released an episode on my podcast, the Keys podcast, talking about the 5 major pillars that have held up my business this entire time. And that was another one of my goals, is bringing back the podcast in 2025. And I'm so glad I did, because it unlocked something in me that, again, had been dormant and that I missed. I love doing this stuff. I love going live. I love going and doing my podcast, which I do right here, and I don't go anywhere. But ultimately, that was on my goal list for this year. I didn't have any dream or goals of monetizing it or anything. It was just simply start it and bring it back on. And I talked about those 5 pillars, and having a strong why is so key, because when stuff hits the fan and you're on a mission and you have a goal that you're set out to do, and you start getting hit with adversary, doubt, fears, insecurities, or maybe you're someone that isn't used to winning, your why is going to hold you down and keep you grounded. Because sometimes when we get a quick dopamine hit of our first win, it slows down our momentum, and it can trick us into thinking we've completed the task when we're just getting started. And this is now our new life, our new lifestyle, this momentum that we have to upkeep. Oh, I got my first client. Yes, I'm done. No, you're done getting your first client. Now get acclimated with working with that client, and then take what worked with getting said client and apply it. Now double down on that to get your next one. And I understand that the cycle of more can get vicious as well, but ultimately it's all about creating the habits and the lifestyle that are required to achieve your goals and dreams and embody this new version of you that is unfolding in front of you. And it's going to test you, it's going to challenge you, it's going to stretch you, but ultimately, um, it's all about how you show up for yourself, and your why is ultimately your foundation. The foundation that your feet are, when people say, "I'm standing on business," it's your why. Because I've had moments where I wanted to give up, where I wanted to just quit and do nothing, but again, the bills had to get paid, so I said, "If I don't wanna do this anymore, what is it that I wanna do next?" And then taking that giant goal and breaking it down into more realistic, smaller steps, so I don't get as overwhelmed and blinded by the bright shining lights of the money, or, the freedom, the flexibility. It's like, okay, it's still gonna be an uphill battle, but at least I'm gonna enjoy it because I know why I'm doing it. I'm not doing this because someone told me to do it. I'm not doing it because it's only for survival. Like, no, I see this in my long-term plans. It's gonna help me have more flexibility with my family. It's gonna help me to remain location independent. It's gonna help me build a legacy. It's gonna help me pay off some debts. And that's the thing about having a strong why, is your why doesn't have to be this elaborate paragraph or this elaborate explanation. It could be a word, it could be a name. It's up to you. It's yours. Let's read the chat before we move on. And shout out to all the transaction coordinators out there. I know that's how many of you have found me or know me. I do transaction coordination um, tips and coaching on this platform, as well as business, real estate mindset stuff. But ultimately, shout out to all the transaction coordinators out there. And we'll talk about growing businesses, like how to grow your transaction coordinator business. We'll touch on that a little bit today, but that's definitely going to be an ongoing topic that I touch on throughout the length of this platform, throughout the life of this platform. I mean, I've realized that this past year I put out a bunch of content. That was another thing. I wanted to grow my YouTube channel. I wanted to grow my online presence. So what does that require? Okay, if my goal is to, hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, which I did. I'm almost at 2,000 actually, as well as here on TikTok. We're almost at 1,500, which is a blessing, because imagine being in a room with 1,500 people. I had to show up, and I didn't want to burn myself out. So I had to invest in myself. I had to pay for the programs and pay money and invest in myself with the expectation that I'm going to get a return. But I'm not just going to blindly just continue things if they're not working. I'm going to make sure I'm checking in with myself and prioritizing time and energy alongside those financial investments to assure that they're working. So let's backtrack a little bit. 2026, with that coming up, what are your goals? What are your dreams? And then what is the why that's going to back up those dreams and those goals to keep you focused and to keep you aligned with said goal? Okay. And then one of my favorite things I love to do each year is have a word of the year. So each year I pick a word, and shout out to my coach. She helped me to, do this. She's like, well, what is your word of the year? And I was like, I don't have one. And I've been doing this for almost 5 years now, where I pick a word of the year, and it's essentially like a theme I want to stay on task with, something that I'm an area where I may be lacking or that I need to do more of. And 2025 was the year of discipline for me. I've always associated the word discipline with negativity and being in trouble. You know, I'm going to discipline you when you do wrong. So I've always associated the word discipline in a negative light. It had a negative connotation to me. And how long did it take you to get 1,000 subscribers? No, 1,000 YouTube followers. That's a great question. I'll answer that in just a moment. Short answer, consistency, having a posting schedule, giving people something to comment about and engage with. But I will follow up on that in just a moment. So, what is your word of the year? Give it a try. And something I adopted this year, around, I would say, July, was I found myself losing focus and losing steam because it's the summertime. I much rather be outside traveling, but I really locked myself in this year in terms of showing up, doing the work, and limiting myself to less travel. I haven't gotten a haircut since November, which is why my hair is up. um, I haven't gotten it colored, so it's like I really just went in terms of focusing on what it is I wanna accomplish this year, and it's ongoing. I'm not saying I won't ever get a haircut, but there were certain things I was willing to sacrifice in order to just stay focused and stay on track with limited, to no distractions, as well as saving money and figuring out different ways I can earn more income in the areas that I enjoy doing the work. And realizing, okay, it is gonna take some sacrifice. I am gonna still have to do work I don't enjoy as I build this up, but that's a part of the process. And my word of the year was discipline, and discipline showed up in so many different ways in my life this year that I didn't realize was even possible. I pinched a nerve in my neck, and that forced me to sit down, for almost 6 weeks where I was just in agony. It was the worst pain of my life, and I've had many, many injuries. I've ruptured my Achilles, broke my wrist, sprained a pinky, had a emergency dental procedure because I fell and damaged my teeth, but it was the pinched nerve, and while I was enduring that pain, I didn't want it to go to waste. I didn't wanna squander that opportunity to learn the lesson in that discipline, and it made me realize that as I was sitting in a lot of silence because I couldn't go anywhere, I was physically in pain, just walking to the bathroom hurt. So I realized, okay, I'm just gonna have to be in the house longer than usual. And I would just write and come up with different ideas, and it unlocked something in me that I didn't realize I was doing. But anytime I had a new idea, I would get so hype. And then I'd hear this little voice in the background, and it would create these, "Oh, that's not gonna work." It was like this negative voice. And I remember that day I was sitting on my couch and I looked around and I said, "Who said that?" So I kept writing and I just kept hearing this voice, and little did I know it was me. It was a voice, it was my voice. And I like to think of myself as a very optimistic, go-getter, positive attitude. But in that moment, I didn't realize that I was self-sabotaging myself subconsciously. I had a new idea, and immediately something in me was shutting it down and preventing me from moving forward. And I realized, how often have I been doing this? What other ideas have I been up? And this was back in April. And I re- and for the and I that was my birthday month too. I was like, "Oh, I'm not turning 41 without handling this." So again, discipline has showed up in different ways in my life, but you have to be willing to do the work as well. Not just pushing papers, checking emails, but I mean the work internally, changing who you are, not to be someone you shouldn't be, but to be the person you're meant to be. So that now leads me to my next point is, what are your priorities? So when you're setting up your life for the upcoming year, you have your goals, you have your dreams, you know your why, which are your reasons as to why, your foundation. Why do I want to grow my business? Why do I want to be a transaction coordinator? Why do I want to own a business? And now setting your priorities of all the goals and the dreams you have, is the main one that you want to focus most of your energy on? Now we can go into the different categories. We are going to focus mostly on business, career in this chat. But if you think about all the categories that you can focus on: health, relationships, business, career, financial goals like money, debt, savings, and personal goals. So if you have these 5 categories, of the 5, what are your top 3? And then of the top 3, what is your number 1? So if business and career is number 1, it doesn't mean you're fully neglecting your family and your relationships or your health. It just means I'm still going to give 50% energy to my business, but the other 50% I'm going to split 4 ways. So if I know that in this upcoming year, or even this upcoming, quarter 1 of 2026, I want to double my income from last year's quarter 1, quarter 2, whatever your goal is, then that's where most of your energy is gonna go. It doesn't mean you don't pick up your kids from school or don't help them with your homework. It's just now, okay, let me readjust my schedule. Let me tell people that I live with, that I work with, "Hey, this is what's going on." You don't have to tell them all your business. I'm just saying the people closest within you that this is gonna impact, let them know. It's like when you are training, if you're training for a marathon or a sporting event, you're gonna have to change your eating habits. It's different if you're solo dolo. For the most part, I'm solo dolo. I have a big family, but most of my decisions don't ultimately impact them. So I can just come and go as I please. But if I have a family, kids, pets, communication is key in this whole process in order to make that work. Hey, I want to quit my job at the end of the year. That's my big goal. You can't just spring that on your partner, whoever you live with, or um, the day you quit your job. So that's what I mean by, when you're prioritizing yourself and beginning to invest in new goals, new plans, new mindsets. Um, it helps to know what your priorities are so you can stick to them, but also not necessarily involving other people, because I know sometimes they can crap on your goals and be mean and be negative and be just projecting their fears on you. Um, you just have to make some subtle adjustments, and if they ask why, then you can divulge as much information as you want. Uh, we have some You did that, Janetta? Did I say your name right? I'm sorry if I didn't. You just quit your job abruptly? Let me know more. So, essentially, out of those 5 things, 2025, my biggest priorities were my business, financial, and my health. Turning 40 last year, you got to go to the appointments. My body's changing, like things are happening that I'm just like, whoa, what is this? So I knew that those are my 3 priorities. But of the 3, business and career were number 1. And I knew that I'm going to invest more time, more energy into making that work, while also prioritizing appointments that I never would have done the year before. And then when it came to my finances, I'm going to call those creditors. I'm going to call those my student loans or whoever I owe money to. I'm going to face it and not be afraid to hear the truth. And I know that can be difficult, but it was something I was willing to do because I prioritized it. And it made for a much more easeful year because I no longer had that stress on my back, which is probably why I had to sit down and why I got that pinched nerve, was because I was too bogged down by my own stresses and the things I was avoiding. And once I realized, okay, I was making these things that I was avoiding much bigger than they actually were. So now that I've gotten that off my plate, I can now incorporate whatever I owe into my to-do list instead of waking up every day just so afraid and just adding more crap onto my pile. It's like, let's start removing the crap off of our list and off of our shoulders and, decrease our stress. So that also ties into health. Why am I stressed out? Is it because I'm telling myself I have to make X amount of money each month, but I keep missing the mark? Okay, but are your bills paid? Are you eating? Are you hydrated? And are you clothed? Do you have the like 3, 4 basic essentials? I'm all about simplicity. I'm not about making life harder for myself. I've done that too many times. I'm 41. I made my 20s and 30s hard enough. I said, no, my 40s are going to be different. As much as I can do to alleviate some of the stress for me, um, I'm gonna just let go and let God, truly. Jonetta said, "Yes, quit my job abruptly, told my husband that I had enough. It was affecting my health." Yes, when you start, noticing just physical, internal changes about yourself where your light is dimmer and you aren't, you don't have that same joy or light when you wake up in the day whenever you go to a job. Um, if you feel in your heart that quitting abruptly needs to happen, do it. And maybe you don't tell everyone right away. I knew I was gonna quit my job. I didn't tell, many people until it happened, maybe, like, a couple of weeks leading up to it. But I had planned on doing it for 2 years, but it took a serious life situation that pushed me to make that decision, and it was the best decision of my life. As scary as I thought it was, as scary as I was, as afraid of I as afraid as I was and made up in my head that the unknown is this big scary monster, it wasn't. The scary part was being miserable and stuck in a place around people I hated and did not like, and they didn't like me back, simply because I was asking not even for more, just for the ability to help my family. Like, I talk about my quitting story a lot here on YouTube and on my podcast, The Keys. Um, but ultimately, knowing what your priorities are go a long way. I think of all of them, health should be in your top priorities around the clock, like around the year round. And then the other two, whatever it is you so choose to be. So health, that includes your spirituality, your mental health, emotional health, physical, fitness, nutrition, such as, making those appointments, doctor, dentist, optometrist, dermatologist, therapist, coaching, gym, training, lessons, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But health, I think, should be a priority year round for all of us. And if you're someone that's, I would say in your 30s right now, that is a prime time for you to set yourself up to have a much more easeful 40s, believe me. And if it's money that's blocking you right now or bogging you down, um, believe me, I probably have the least amount of money I've ever had in my life this year, and it was one of the most it was one of the most liberating years I've ever had. When I was chasing money, when I had these big goals of making a lot of money, I was way more stressed out. But now that I've just focused on simplicity, like just hitting the bare minimum, focusing on getting some of those, credit cards down that I unfortunately maxed out last year because I was just going through I was just mentally blocked last year and going through a lot. And I couldn't get myself out of it until I finally gradually did stuff like this to get myself out of it. And again, the best decision of my life, because I knew I was transitioning out of a career that I've known for so long that I had to change. I had to make different decisions. I had to take different action steps in order to see this through, to make it happen. And there were tears. There were many days I was laying on this couch, just like, what do I do? I'm struggling. And I said, enough is enough. And I started, again, health. I started exercising, but not doing things that I am comfortable with. I started taking a step aerobics class. That is completely out of my comfort zone. But there was something about, one, working out, sweating, you know, then meeting with new people, community, doing it with friends that we all were uncomfortable doing it with, and then seeing the progression and the growth of not knowing how to do step aerobics to becoming, you know, really good at it. It was something I needed in me to build my confidence back. And it was free. It was a free class at the YMCA that I challenged myself to do last year, and it unlocked something in me that I had just let be dormant for too long. Growing up, I was an athlete. I was always doing some sort of activity, whether it was after school programs, sports, um, what else was I doing? Volunteering, hanging out with friends, anything. Like, I was always busy. And but doing the physical activity was something you just stop doing. You lose sight of the fun stuff that you enjoy doing as a kid or a teenager because I have to be an adult. No. A couple years ago, I started taking my nephew to school, and I didn't wanna just come home and, go straight to work, because I had to drop him off really early because he used to go to school really far. And, I mean, he used to start school really early before he started going to school really far. And I would have time before my work morning started, and I said, "You know what? Let me just go to the park. I haven't played basketball in so long. Let me go play basketball." And again, it just unlocked something in me because I love playing basketball. I'm not the best, but I know I'm good at it. And all the things that I enjoyed, somewhere along the way, I just lost sight of what I enjoyed and stopped doing it because I was in survival mode. I was like, "Oh, I gotta pay the bills. Oh, I gotta push myself to be the best transaction coordinator. I have to make all this money so I can, so I don't have to work next year." It's like I had it all backwards. My priorities were all jacked up. So that's why I mentioned, your goals, your dreams. What is your why that's gonna hold you down and up when things are rough and when things are going good and when things are going great? And then having a word of the year essentially can be the theme of your year. I think one year my word was, I think I've had trust, courage. Last year was discipline. Um, I'm forgetting what my other words were, but you get the idea. If you want your word to be fun because you're not having as much fun, make that your word. If you want to be more silly throughout the year because you're always so serious, let that be your year. I mean, your word of the year. Give it a try. You could do it for 3 months. For the rest of this year, for November and December, my 2025 word of the year is gonna be fun. Let's do that. Right now, my word of the year is momentum. Because I'm trying to build this momentum, get back in the habit of going live, showing up for my podcast, building community, getting to know each and every one of you, not just through a post I scheduled on an app using AI. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm real. I'm a real person. I've DM'd many of you. I've had one-on-one sessions with you, and I don't want it to be limited to just that, because I know not everyone can afford coaching. Not everyone can afford starting a business from scratch. So it's like, let's game plan. Let's think of different ways that we can motivate ourselves, inspire ourselves, and build that momentum into the new seasons of our life, whether it's the new year, whether it's a new job, a new career, it's up to you. So then, any questions so far? I feel like I've been talking a lot about myself, but I think it's important to also just let you all know who I am. Um, excuse me if this makes too much noise. You got to stay hydrated, people. It goes a long way, especially as you get older. Your energy changes. I'm telling you. I had to take a nap before this because someone was ringing my bell super early this morning and I couldn't go back to sleep. And I said, I refuse to show up into this live with low energy. I have to be high energy for my people. But do you guys have any questions so far? Thank you for joining. Please double tap the screen to like. And if you're on YouTube here, please subscribe to the channel. I will definitely be going live a lot more frequently in 2026. It's one of my goals I'm willing to share with you all. Weekly lives, unless it's a holiday or I'm just unable to go live for whatever reason. But that's something I want to bring back and incorporate more frequently. But for today, we're just starting off slow, getting warmed up, dusting off the mic, setting the scene. But for those that have goals of running a business, becoming a transaction coordinator, or working in real estate, I know I mentioned that we would come back to this. So here we are. We're going to dive into real estate transaction coordination more specifically. So if my goal, let's just pretend I'm working at an office right now and I want to start becoming a transaction coordinator. What would I do? Oh, I have a question. So do you know the percentage or ROI from posting on social media for obtaining clients? So I've been experimenting with this all year, Jonetta, in terms of what works, what doesn't work. And I found that obviously the more I post, the more I'm going to show up in people's algorithms. So even if I post today, some people may not see it for another 3 days or a week because some people are on the app all day, every day. Some are on there 3 times a week, 3 times a day. So I can't expect my posts to just reach people immediately. So you may have found me from something I posted 5 years ago, 2 years ago, last week. So what I have found is I've tried the posting every day. I've tried posting 5, 6 times a day. And that overwhelmed me because I still had to do work for my actual TC business. I still had to, audit files and send timelines, and posting each and every day, editing clips is a lot of work. It's a job in itself. It's a career in itself, actually. Like if I really put my mind to it, I can become bigger on YouTube and TikTok and all these things, but I just don't because it wasn't a top priority. So when it comes to social media for obtaining clients, you have to know who your target audience is and thinking about what are the frequently asked questions or what are the gaps in their business that they need filled. What are the areas that they might be struggling with? So then creating content to answer those questions, to provide answers, also promotes you in your business as it exhibits you as an expert in that field. So I have found that when I talk directly to my ideal client, which is also called a customer avatar, I attract them a lot quicker and faster. So if for instance, I'm in San Francisco, California. So if my target realtor is top producing, let's just say she's a woman of color, from ages, let's just say I want to work with someone between the age of 30 and 45, that that is tech savvy, because I've worked with people that are not tech savvy in the real estate industry. It's difficult. What else? She is a top producer here in San Francisco and focuses on condos and single family residents and closes um, 3 to 5 transactions a month. So that's my target audience. It doesn't mean I say no to the clients that are gonna come to me with one deal that aren't top producers, but I know that that's my target customer, so I'm gonna make content that will attract that client. So I'm gonna talk about, condos in San Francisco. I'm gonna talk about single family homes in San Francisco. If I wanna attract that type of realtor to be their TC, to be their transaction coordinator. So on the flip side, um, if because I've launched my coaching business this year, a lot of my content is directed at new transaction coordinators. And I've realized there's a big difference because I was speaking to transaction coordinators with 0 to 5 years of experience. For those on TikTok, 0 to 5 years experience. But I realized a lot of people in that 0 category were contacting me. But when I offered them one-on-one training, that was my high ticket offer. A lot of them couldn't afford it. So I said, "Oh, there's something's got to give. Like something's off with what I'm doing." But I knew who I was talking to. I just was offering the wrong services. So I know this is kind of a roundabout way of answering your question, Jonetta, but basically it's all about showing up and being consistent and creating a posting schedule that works for you. But posting once a month, once a week is not enough. Sadly, that is just not enough in the year 2025 and beyond. With AI making taking over essentially, I don't know how it's going to impact us, but I just know that I want to be a trusted voice in my industry. I want to be a resource for people that they trust, that is real, which is why I'm doing this live stream. I'm a real person. I'm a real boy. What is that, Pinocchio? I'm not a boy, but you get what I'm saying. So if I had to pick a percentage or ROI, I would say for every I would say for every 30 posts, I get a lead. And when I mean posts, I mean clips, vlogs, podcasts. So I'll make a podcast, that's one post, and then I'll share it. Like I'll share the link a bunch of times. That's another 10 posts, right? Then I'll create my YouTube long form vlog, which I drop weekly here on this channel. And then I create clips using Opus clips. So then I was doing like 3 clips every day for 3 months. And I got a lot of leads. A lot of people were scheduling discovery calls. I got my first 6 coaching clients because of showing up that way. So I would say, if I told you you would get your next deal, your first client, if you posted 30 times, would you do it? You know what I mean? I can't say that's the exact number. It might be less, it might be more for you. But what I'm saying is you have to show up and you have to do it. You can also purchase ads. Some people aren't good at doing the camera stuff or the mic, podcasts. Purchase an ad, let it run for 30 days, see what happens, and then fix it. Learn how to post ads. There's an art to doing ads on Google, Facebook, YouTube. YouTube University is where I learned a lot. But if you want to just invest money, I got my first one of my first clients off of a Google ad 8 years ago. And I think I spent I've never spent more than $500 on running ads at a time. I've done $25, $50, $5, I remember at one time. You just have to pick what works for you. But sometimes in the beginning, it does require you kind of throwing stuff on the wall to see what sticks. But what does work, I'm telling you, is just going straight to the source. DM the person you want to work with. Even if it seems outlandish or ridiculous, and just say, hey, I admire what you do. If you ever need assistance or help, I'm glad to help. Reach out. Here's my phone number. Here's my email. And then create a system where you follow up. I always say the funds are in the follow up. The funds are in the follow up. Let me write that in the chat. The funds are in the follow up. The funds are in. I can't even. How do I chat on my own? Is the chat? No, you guys are chatting on TikTok. How do I chat? I haven't gone live on the TikTok in forever, so I don't know where my chat box went. But basically, the funds are in the follow up. If anyone else in TikTok can type that for me, that'd be great. But ultimately, the funds are in the follow up. And I have convinced myself that for every 30 posts that I make, whether it's a blog, a status update, a story post, a vlog, a podcast, clips, going live, making a comment, if for every 30 I've made, I get a lead, I'm going to do it. One thing I've learned for sure being solo and having a business is you're going to have to do more work up front to get those clients than you will the actual work that you enjoy and love. I've done, I don't know how many live streams over the past 3 years of having this platform, maybe 4 years. And people will contact me and say, oh yeah, I found you on YouTube. I just searched transaction coordinator and you came up. But then I have to have something to offer them. So you can show up, do the social media, but do you have a calendar link in your bio? Do you have a website? Websites are becoming a bit obsolete, but do you have the domain name? Buy your name, JanettaBell.com. I don't know if that exists, but I would buy it today. GoDaddy.com is usually like $12, $15 at a discounted rate. Then I pay like $22 a year to renew my domain names, but you can buy them for 5 years, 10 years, whatever. But I own LillianHernandez.com and I own LilyHernandez.com and I own TransactionCare.com. I own TheKeysPodcast.com. Wait, do I own The Keys Pod or The Keys Podcast? Yeah, I own TheKeysPodcast.com. There was a bunch of people that had The Keys Pod, The Keys. So I remember it took me a while to get those domains. But what I'm getting at is put yourself out there, but also have something for them to contact you with. Like, here's my email. My email's in my bio. There's a box on my Instagram for people to email me directly. Turn on those settings. So it's important to put yourself out there in what works with you. With a GoDaddy, you can't what? But you have to have something for them to reach out to you. Take the domain if you leave them? What do you mean? Like, if I'm confused. Let me know what you're referring to. But ultimately, I found that when it comes to my business, the less people have to click to get to me, when I mean like clicking buttons and whatnot, that it's a lot easier to just get to me. So if I was starting over from scratch today as a transaction coordinator, I would Google real estate offices, San Francisco. Whichever office comes up first, most of their information is public. I'm either calling every single person on that list or email every single one of those people. So if you don't want to post on social media, that's fine. You don't have to have a social media presence. For me, my goal is to be a content creator. So that's why I post so much. It's yes, to build my business, to have an online presence, but I also have a goal of being a content creator. I guess you could say influencer. It's not the typical influencer that's doing outfits of the days and travel content, but I am showing up to influence people to better themselves, to be, to take care of themselves, to care for them. It's on the back of my shirt, but it says care for yourself, care for your wealth. So, so that's important to me. And if I can influence people to have a desire and to take action on taking care of themselves, then I'm good. You don't actually own the domain if you leave GoDaddy for another host provider. Um, I'm not, well, I don't know the logistics about all of that. I'm saying buy the domain so people can reach you. I don't care who owns the domain. I paid for it. I'm not going to make any more excuses for myself. I don't care about that stuff. Go to lillianhernandez.com right now and you will be able to contact me. That's the point of that. I own the domain. I bought it. It's not going to direct you anywhere else but to my website. Okay. So, that was the point I was trying to make. So, having an online presence is up to you. But if you don't want to do that, if it's not 30 content posts, then hit up 30 people a day, a week, whatever is comfortable and challenging for you. Set the standard for yourself. Go directly to the source. So what I do may not work for you. And that's what I want to get into my last couple of points here is you have to define what success means. Okay, let's start over. You have to define your mission, your values, success, failure, safety, and boundaries. What those mean to you. What is your mission? What do you want out of this? Who are you serving? What are you providing? And what do you value? Because when you're out here interviewing realtors, when you're out here trying to get hired, it's a two-way street. They're not just interviewing you, you are interviewing them. I'm asking realtors, what's in your pipeline? How many transactions do you expect to close next year or this year? How many do you have any team members? What's in their time? What's in their pipeline? What have you failed at that you'd want to improve at? Like certain questions, right? And if, what are your values? What is your mission? How do you define success? I'm asking them as well what all that means. Because when they ask me, I'm going to be ready. One of my values is respect, fun. So if it's like a militant, um, talking down to me environment, I'm out. I'm not even gonna proceed. And then knowing your definition of success is key because you don't want to continue to show up to fulfill other people's dreams for your entire life. Yeah, you can be a supporting cast member in doing so for others because there's going to be other people that are going to support you in making your dreams come true and vice versa. That's fine. But for my entire life, no. There are things that I need to achieve and accomplish, and my definition of success is going to look different from others. Some people's definition of success is a dollar sign, is knowing like, okay, I have 1,000 subscribers. That's success to me. To me, it's more so location independence, time freedom. It's like flexibility, a quality of life. That's success to me. Being able to wake up and do my morning routine every single day. That is success to me. Success 10 years ago, 5 years ago might have been different. It might have been like, I need to make $10,000 a month. I'll tell you right now, I've done that a couple of times in my career, and it was the most stressful I'd ever been in my life because I didn't know how to run a business. I didn't have the resources. I didn't have coaches. I didn't know how to manage my time. I was disorderly. And looking back, I realized I don't ever want to do that ever again. Do I want to make $10,000 a month again? Yeah, of course, but not like that. So I must have manifested it the wrong way or prayed about it the wrong way, just went about it the wrong way, or I don't know. And I had to find what works for me because I was operating off of someone else's definition of success. And then you also have to define what failure is to you. I think so many of us absorb what other people define failure as, or them calling you a failure growing up. Look at Gary Vee. If you know who Gary Vee is, he's an entrepreneur. He's a top marketer in the world, one of the top marketers in the world. He's a content creator, influencer as well, entrepreneur. But he had D's and F's in high school. He talks about it all the time when he's yelling from the top of his lungs, "I got D's and F's, and look at me, blah blah." So it's not the grades. It's just how you show up in life. I have many failures, but they don't define me. I look at failure as data. That was the most life-changing thing I ever heard in my life. And I heard that in the last 5 years from someone in one of my business groups. She said, and she had recently quit her job, but she's successful in terms of education, the career path, starting her business, and how she articulated it was just life altering. Because prior to that meeting, that group session we had, I looked at failure as like the end all be all. I can't fail. I can't lose all this money. I can't do this. I can't go back to a 9 to 5. And she said, failure is data. And I was like, wait, what does that mean? What do you mean failure is data? And I was like, yeah, it's just information that whatever I did is not working. It's like trying to put AAA batteries into the remote that requires AA batteries. I stopped at it needs batteries, but I failed to look further and see that it needs AA, but I was putting AAA. So failure is just data, and that's my straight to the point definition. And then safety is a new word that I incorporated into my day-to-day because I actually met with a money coach a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking about my situation and just my money mindset, my relationship with money, the ups and downs, the anxieties, the ease, and the journey I've been on lately, and how that's been one of my goals this year. And he said, "Oh, it seems like you just lack safety." And I said, "Whoa, I've never associated the word safe and money together in my life." And I didn't realize that I didn't feel safe with money. And that's probably why as soon as I get it, I'm not spending it on frivolous things, but I have this anxious nature to myself to get rid of it. Like, let me go pay a bill. Let me go pay down a debt. Like, I get ahead of myself. And I'm now learning. And like I said, this is a meeting I had with a money coach 2 weeks ago. By the way, Capital One, not sponsored, not anything. I'm not affiliated with them, although I do have a bank account with them, but I'm not getting paid to say this. They have a free money and life coaching program, which is amazing. You take 3 courses. I did my first one. I'm waiting a month, and then I'm going to do my second one. But it's completely free. I would say book a session. But basically, safety is something I value. So what does that mean to me? Is it a number in my bank account? Is it having enough, books to read? Whatever the case may be, like having enough affirmations that I can say to myself every day. Is it journaling? Is it talking to people I love? What does that mean to you? What is safety? What would make you feel more safe in this world based on your actions and your definition of success, your mission, your values, your why, your goals, your dreams? And then finally, boundaries. You have to define what boundaries are to you. Even amongst people you love, sometimes the people closest to you will be the first ones to shut down your dreams because they're projecting their fears onto you, or because something you're doing is so outlandish that they can't comprehend it, So they would much rather you just stay quiet and in this safe bubble and not quit your job abruptly, not start a business, not start a whole new social media platform to reach people like yourselves, as well as when you're doing business, having boundaries within your business. I'm open from 9 to 5, but I can work at any hour of the day. I'm just not communicating with people after or before those hours because I want to set the precedent and standard of this is when I'm working. Because the thing about real estate is you give an inch, they're going to take 7 miles, not just 1 mile, 7 plus. They're going to run marathons around you. Oh, can you do this? Can you do that? Answer my call. Why aren't you answering? You answered yesterday. You answered this. So I don't do that anymore. I fired the clients that were forcing me to work around the clock. But if that's a service you want to offer, more power to you. But for me, knowing what my boundaries are and who they apply to is key. And I'm not as rigid with all of my boundaries. It's a case by case situation. But what I'm saying is, on a basic level, these are my boundaries. And then finally, gratitude. Being able to celebrate your wins is also going to keep you grounded and inspired and uplifted and motivated through this situation, through this season of your life. Being grateful is the first thing I say as soon as I wake up every single morning. The days I don't lead with gratitude or do my morning routine are truly the worst. When I just get up and go, oh, I can count. I can remember the exact days and thank God that they aren't many. But prior to me doing these types of exercises, I can look back and think, yeah, I had a lot more crappy days before I started doing this stuff. But now that I'm doing more of this stuff, my days feel a lot better. I feel better internally, which allows me to have the energy to go produce content, to go show up for my clients, to do these live streams, to answer questions, to be present, and to not be irritated or annoyed easily, or frustrated or sad or depressed. This year, 2025 compared to 2024 is a complete 180. I'll tell you that much. 180. And I want that for all of you. And it starts with knowing what you want, what you need, sticking to the plan of what you need and getting it done, taking action, setting up those big goals into smaller, tangible action steps. In any areas of friction, whether it's a voice in the back of your head, a person in your life, time management mishaps, you have to take accountability for all of that. Even if it's not your fault, it sucks. I know. I'm still a work in progress. I didn't never said I was perfect. But any areas of friction that you can identify, fix it. Fix it. I was tired before this live because someone was ringing my doorbell hella early this morning. And I said, I'm so tired. I don't want to do this live. What am I going to talk about? And I said, let me just go take a nap. I rarely ever take naps in the middle of the day anymore. Let me take a nap, recharge, hydrate, make sure my lights and everything are set up, and then I can just ease my way into this live stream. Boom, we're here. We're at the end of it. We made it, okay? And once you've taken accountability, even when it's not your fault, I'm not saying you admit to guilt of doing something you never did. I'm just saying remove the friction from whatever's preventing you from moving forward with your dreams and your goals, okay? Then you can set up, key performance indicators, KPIs, to just to identify, okay, what I'm doing for the next 30 days. I'm measuring it based on how many leads I get. For every 30 content posts I make, how many leads did I get? Should I do more content? Should I do less content? And then with the leads that I do have, how am I nurturing them? Setting a foundation and a schedule for yourself to say, okay, for every lead, I'm going to follow up with them day 1, then in 5 days, 7 days, 10 days. If I don't hear from them, I'll follow up with them in a month, 6 months. But this part doesn't stop. Then setting up a timeline for yourself throughout the day. So if I want to achieve a certain goal in 90 days, what do I have to do every day for the next 90 days? When am I taking breaks? When am I celebrating my wins? When am I, um, am I sticking to my why and my values and my definition of success? Again, it's not going to be perfect. Leave room for error. Leave room for stuff going off track and off your timeline. I'm not going to get mad if my 90-day goal happens in 150 days. I'm just not, because it's better than it never happening at all. Okay? So, any questions before we wrap this up? I appreciate each and every one of you that's been here. The replay will live on my YouTube channel, Transaction Care. So definitely go over there, subscribe, turn on your notifications. If you can reshare this live, tell a friend, tell a friend. If you have a newsletter, go ahead and share it. If you want to make reaction clips to this, go ahead. Feel free to post it on your social media. If you have any questions, go ahead and hit me in the chat before we wrap this up. Otherwise, this has been fun. I will definitely be doing more live streams in 2026. Like I said, that's one of my goals. But for now, this is my first live in a long time. I hope you guys had fun, enjoyed it. Drop any questions that, maybe pressing for you. I know someone did ask me about how I got 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. I think I'm going to make a vlog about that, or maybe my next live stream will be about growing an audience and community, because I'm considered a small creator. In my mind, I'm the Beyonce of this. Okay. So numbers are not something that I tie my worth and my value to, but it does matter. So how you talk to your first 100 followers is going to be the same way you talk to your first 1,000, your next 10,000. Of course I want to hit 10,000 followers, but right now it's like getting comfortable with how I manage the followers I currently have, knowing how to talk to a room of 1,000 people, knowing how to talk to a room with a live stream with two people in it, being comfortable no matter what. That takes practice. So give it a try. Jonetta, pleasure talking to you. And if you don't have any questions, just a shameless plug, visit my website, lillianhernandez.com, as well as transactioncare.com. Please do book a discovery call with me. They are free. Free discovery calls have changed my life, I'm telling you. And I've booked free discovery calls with some of the top coaches in this nation. And they go a long way. Just letting someone hear you out, being able to talk through some of your goals, your dreams, set up a session with me. I'm also doing one-on-one 2026 planning sessions. So just make sure you secure your spot if that's something you want to specifically work on. You can visit my website, lillianhernandez.com. All of that information lives there. And I'm going to stay on live on YouTube for a little bit longer, but I am going to end it here on TikTok. So thank you all that are here on TikTok. It's been a while, but won't be the last one. My name is Lillian Hernandez, but you can call me Lily. This is Transaction Care. Hit the follow button. Thank you for watching. I'm staying here on YouTube. So join me on YouTube right now. Okay. Kimberly, let me answer that question right now. Okay. So how long, okay, did you answer how long it took to get your 1,000 YouTube subscribers? It took me, oh my God, when did I think my first post was in 2021. And I think I hit 1,000 subscribers last year. Bear with me. Um, and that was being inconsistent. This is the very first year okay, how many subscribers do I have right now? Okay, so currently I have 1,821 followers. Yay, I was at 1818 before this live. But um when did I hit 1,000 subscribers? I'll tell you this much. This was the first year I posted one vlog every week with clips, if not daily, for 3 to 4 times out of the week. And having shorts and a vlog posted helped me grow a lot faster compared to just posting the vlogs, because I did see a decline in viewership this year, especially when people were I my videos were doing really well obviously during the pandemic, but around 2022, 2023, I started to see a dip, and that's when a lot of stuff was happening in my life where I just wasn't feeling connected to the content. I launched a podcast, so that took my attention away from YouTube. But I would say 2024, I started to get back into the swing of things. But 2025, um, I definitely would say was the fastest I've gotten 800 followers ever. Because I was at probably 600 to 800 for 4 years. And then it just boom. Once I started showing up consistently, it's not a matter of posting just anything just to post it. You have to use keywords. Like I make sure I always have all of my videos that say how to become a real estate transaction coordinator do a lot better than um, how to manage your time. You know what I mean? Like I'm very specific and intentional with how I use my keywords. They call it search engine optimization, because you have to remember YouTube is a search platform. People go here to search things. So how do I how do I see? I don't even know why I'm using a cooking reference, because I'm about to say something about baking. How do I bake a 7-layer cake? How do I make a cheesecake? That's more likely to get hits compared to it just saying strawberry cheesecake, whatever. It's like you have to be very specific. Yeah, and don't feel too attached to the results of it. You just have to do it, because a lot of my shorts, some will get 5 views, some will get 500. I got a couple that have thousands of views, but it doesn't mean that it's reaching necessarily the right people. But if you narrow if your main subject is real estate, have like 3 main topics that you focus on. Like for me, real estate business mindset. And within real estate, it's transaction coordination, um, which is my main, you know, topic of conversation. So that's who I'm talking to. So if yours is, I used an example earlier. I said, I don't know if you heard it, but basically I said, making content for your target audience and your target customer is what's going to get you the business and get you the right people. I'll tell you, oh, here's a good example. How about this story? This story changed my life. So there was this YouTuber that um he was posting about his journey with movies and writing stories forever. He said he had maybe 3 or 10 subscribers, and like 3 of them were like his grandma, his mom, and himself. But he stayed on it. He didn't care that people were watching it or not, because he was sharpening his craft, right? He did this for maybe a few years or whatnot. And of those viewers, one of them was Oprah. And he ended up producing content for Oprah. This is a true story. I forget his name, but his story was basically he created YouTube videos. He thought no one but his mom and grandma and himself were watching the videos. But lo and behold, one of those mystery viewers was Oprah herself and someone from her team. So you just never know who you're going to reach. You know what I mean? And you may have faster success if that's your definition of success of numbers. You may hit 1,000 followers tomorrow. YouTube is so quick. Social media is so quick. But it's what you do with the followers is what matters. Whether you have one follower, subscriber, 1,000, 1,000,000, what you do with it matters. That's why I said having your website ready, having somewhere where they can connect with you immediately. Maybe you sell a course, maybe you sell coaching, maybe whatever it is. Maybe you sell t-shirts. Like having something ready so it becomes an income generating tool for you. And then, God willing, you monetize your YouTube channel. Obviously, I've been trying to monetize my YouTube channel for forever, but I had to reframe my mind as well and look at it as like it is monetized. I'm just not getting paid directly from Google, who owns YouTube, from the YouTube paid partnership program. I'm getting paid from people watching my videos, scheduling a discovery call with me, and then converting them into sales, sending out a weekly newsletter with the buy now option. Do you see what I'm saying? But the more you show up as an expert, the more you build trust with your community, the more you can build a community, because it's your community that are going to hold you down, that are going to show up and show up to your live streams and ask questions and comment. This stuff matters. Like you matter, like, to me. So I look at it this way. If I can't handle my first 1,000 subscribers, how the hell am I going to handle 10,000? So I would rather make this a long-term thing, play the long game, and be able to manage what I have now so I can prepare if and when it grows bigger. But I just know God's not going to bless me with more if I can't handle what's in front of me. And you don't even really, you just, if your goal, I know this $10,000 is such a buzzword, and what do you call it? It's such a hook to get people to look and click on things, right? But let's just say you do want to make $10,000 a month and you have 1,000 subscribers that are loyal to you, that talk to you, that communicate with you. You just have to get those 1,000 people to pay you 10,000. I'm sorry. You just need those 1,000 people, each and every one of them, to pay you 10,000. Why do I keep saying 10,000? $10 a month. Those 1,000 people have to pay you $10 a month to make $10,000 a month. That's not a big ask. In fact, the wheels are turning in my brain right now that I've done the math. How can I gather 1,000 people to pay me $10 for something? My Patreon, join my Patreon. It's free right now, but maybe I'll add like a $10 tier or a $25 tier where I don't have to get as many people. I just need 40 people to pay me $25 a month. You see what I'm saying? Or one time, because maybe I just want to make an extra $10,000 on top of everything else I'm already making. But you have to be willing to put in the reps. I'm going to do way more posts before I ever see the fruits of my labor because I'm still technically unknown. You know what I'm saying? So even if I'm not posting on social media, how many DMs am I sending? How many people am I reaching out to directly? Do both. My goal minimum is DM 3 people every day. And I'm not selling them stuff. I'm just introducing myself. I'm commenting on their posts on social media and just saying, hey, glad to be a resource for you. That might have been how we met. You know what I mean? So if you're trying to meet more realtors, Join those realtor groups and comment under their posts. I'm sure we've talked about this, but it has to be a consistent thing. Doing it once a month, once a week, unfortunately, isn't going to work. I tried that route. It doesn't work. You're going to exert way more energy up front before you finally see the fruits of your labor. That's why professional athletes, they train thousands and hundreds of hours for their fight, because they're practicing their mistakes. They're practicing their steps, their routines, their habits, just to get into, just for a 2-hour at most boxing match. But they're training for 100 hours or more, thousands of hours, if you count from the first time they picked up their gloves, for a 2-hour fighting match. That's how I see it. So right now, you might just be in the conditioning phase. So when I played sports, before we touched a bat, a ball, a glove, we spent the first month conditioning, getting back in shape, getting our reps in. And then that next month, we finally started doing drills. Then leading up closer to the games, now we're starting to do more routines, cleaning up the footwork. All right. I'll let that marinate. So if anyone's watching the replay of this and you made it to the 1 hour and 21 minute mark, thank you. But also shout out to those that are in here with me, watching live, answering questions. Shout out to Jonetta. Shout out to Kimberly. I really appreciate each and every one of you. This is not the last live stream. There will be more, God willing. We're going to be out here learning and growing together. I enjoy this with a passion. I love this. I love coaching each and every one of you. Like I said, visit my website, lillianhernandez.com, so you can schedule a one-on-one. Kimberly, we have our next session soon, so I will talk to you on Monday. It's bright and early for me. It's 9 a.m. my time when we talk, but 12 o'clock your time. I'm just grabbing the link from my website so you guys can book it. And let me go ahead and pin that. Yeah. So I'd love to work with you all. If you're watching on the replay, you can visit my website and grab all that information. I also host the Keys podcast, which new episodes drop every Monday, unless otherwise noted or it's a holiday. And we are coming up on the 3-year anniversary of the Keys podcast, which is on December 1st. So stay tuned for that. But until then, hit the subscribe button, like, share, comment. And I think my next live stream will be about how to grow an audience in terms of, or a community, how to build a community on YouTube, here on YouTube. So stay tuned for that. If you have topics you want me to talk about directly, let me know. I'm open to feedback and ways that I can improve, because I want to make sure I'm giving you guys information. I'm making sure I want to give you guys the keys. That's why I called my podcast The Keys, because I want to give you guys the keys to unlock the best you, okay? And there are no gatekeepers here. I'm an open book. We can talk about whatever real estate, business, mindset stuff that is on your mind and you're unsure or curious about. I've been doing this for 21 plus years. I've been solo for 8. So I'm here to share all of that game with you guys for free. And if you're willing to pay, even better. But I appreciate each and every one of you. I'm going to wrap this up. If you guys don't have any further questions, my name is Lillian Hernandez, but you can call me Lily, like the flower. And this is another TC Live. We're back, baby. Stay tuned. Lots of information, lots of free game coming soon. So turn on your notifications, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. And if you guys have nothing, remember, care for yourself, care for your wealth. Your time is worth it. Let's coordinate. Talk soon. Oh, let me take a thumbnail. Okay. Talk to you guys later. Bye.